The 2018 Riesling it's got to be one of my favorite wines right now. And it is fairly sweet. It is approachable. It is easy to drink, but it's got all of these additional layers to it that make it a Riesling that I think is going to stand up for a very long time. 2018 was a notoriously difficult year. One of the issues that just caused nonstop grief was how much moisture there was. And in fact, it rained so much and the soils were holding so much water that even when you had dry days, your dew points were relatively high, which meant the canopy and the grape clusters, you were always fighting with moisture on them. When you have excessive moisture in your vineyard, what you end up with is a lot of disease. So downy mildew, powdery mildew, and botrytis. And when you have a lot of botrytis, you can find sour rot. So sour rot was a problem across the region in 2018, and it took extraordinary efforts to make really beautiful wines. One of the things that we did, and incidentally, this 2018 Riesling largely comes from the Gibson Vineyard and the Morris Vineyard, so 10 miles north, 10 miles south, was go out and survey the vineyard before harvest, and in places where we needed to drop the bad fruit, that's exactly what we did. You know, when you hand harvest, if you're going through and you're picking a sour rot cluster and you put it aside, you don't put it in your bin, that sour rot is still going to be on your hands. And in a year like 2018 where it was really bad, if you keep touching bad clusters and then you're touching good clusters, you're basically infecting the good clusters with juices from the bad. And so we had to separate out when we were doing this dropping of the bad fruit that might have been there. And generally that was either going out several hours before we actually did the harvest, or it was going out the day before. And it was a lot of extra work, but it paid dividends. I knew 2018 was going to be a really hard year, and that's why our entire crew put in so much extra effort to prove that even in the hardest years in the Finger Lakes, we can make extraordinary wines. So this 2018 Riesling is a sweeter version of that. And we're going to go ahead and taste it real quick, and I'll tell you a little more about it. The nose doesn't exhibit anything bad about the vintage. It's almost this like Jolly Rancher apple. Just a hint of salted caramel. And a little bit of apple. And on the palate, a lot of those initial sensory notes on the nose just kind of drive right on through. It's that same similar, it's salted caramel, it's apple, it's a little bit of citrus, a little bit of kind of like a lemon head. And a lot of juiciness. So a classic way to sweeten wines, an old German method, is called the Süß Reserve, or sweet reserve. And so what we did was we actually held back about 50 gallons of juice, of Riesling juice, so that when it came time to blend our final Riesling, we didn't add sugar. We adjusted that sweetness level with the actual Riesling juice that we were able to preserve from harvest. What that does is just changes the entire organoleptic way that you see this wine. It's juicy, it's got some acid, it's full on the palate. And adding that juice actually helped us to bring the alcohol down a little bit. So it's not low in alcohol, but it finishes right about 11.8. And that's a nice level for Riesling. What that means is, that alcohol level combined with the level of acid, combined with the level of residual sugar, this is the sort of Riesling that has generations of aging. I think that, I know personally I'll probably be setting in my own cellar about 4 or 5 cases aside. We'll do that in the winery as well because we love our library program. But I think it's worth it to pick up a case and to every year open a bottle and see how it ages over the course of the next decade. I know you're going to like what you find.